Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies, back inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Print management, document management, get everything you need to the cloud, much like this council kid sent everybody into the cloud on Saturday night at Lenovo Center. Joe?
Melvin Council. Put some respect on his name there, sir. 36 points.
Apparently,
9 3-pointer.
Apparently, NC State did not put respect on his name because I said, hey, man, by all means. By all means. We have a lot to get into today. Okay. A lot of sports phone calls to get into because you could imagine the sports phone was popping. I was in the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue, just outside Nashville, and I'm in the sports bar watching the second half and overtime of the NC State-Kansas game. And sure enough, I kept getting that Gmail notification. That's the sports phone. More and more stuff. We can make the whole show out of the sports phone. I'm going to do my best not to, because a lot of them start to kind of repeat themselves after a while. You kind of get the gist. So we'll get into that. We'll also welcome on former columnist of the News and Observer, Luke DeCock. Something that we've known about for a while, but he made it official over the weekend that Friday was his last day with the News and Observer after 25 years. And being a longtime columnist, friend of the program, friend in general, friend in real life. And we'll spend a considerable amount of time talking about really the last 25 years and where things are and where things are headed. So looking forward to that conversation. Plus, I got something for you, Joe. But we'll save that for later. We'll save that for later. Let's
make sure it's not Jessica's birthday or Christmas gift.
Oh.
Don't be giving that away.
Does she watch the show?
Sometimes.
We'll make sure, tell her not to watch the show.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports Phone and curse or don't.
So the general theme of the weekend, best I can tell from the sports phone, I think is encapsulated by our friend Jeannie.
Hi, boys. Happy Suck-Ass Sunday, brought to you by the Carolina Panthers. So many undisciplined penalties. What a shit show. So 2 of the 4 Saints wins have come from the Panthers. That is so bad. That aside, Merry Christmas to you guys. Thank you for all you do. Your show, unlike the Panthers, always delivers. Thanks. I love your show. And take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Man, that's fucking sucked. Merry Christmas. This is from a 619.
Hey, just calling to summarize the weekend because I don't really have anyone else to talk to about it that can talk as fast as I do. My dogs are freaking out right now. Sorry about that. Don't want to talk about the NC State game. Thought it was good. Really wanted to see that win. Don't want to talk about the Panthers game. Thought it was really bad. Wanted to see that win. Shout out to the Hornets for going 9-0 in the scoring and overtime to beat.
That's how bad things are.
The Hornets.
Well, shout out the Hornets.
The Cavaliers. That was nice. And then shout out the Canes might actually have more than a flash in the pan at goalie. Brandon Bussey is the truth, and I'm calling him Brandon Bussey because it's funny. By the way, when are we getting the I Love Bussey shirts? I will rock that shit 7 days a week. Thanks, guys.
We might need to talk to our friends at Breaking Tea about that. How they haven't done that yet, man, that is a mystery. That is a mystery. Anyway, so you kind of get the general gist of today's show and the general vibe of the show. Look, I'm going to be honest with you, Joe. I'm really not trying to be an asshole when I present it this way, but we have to stay consistent. We have to stay true to ourselves. But this is where we're at with NC State under Will Wade. We have an entire offseason from the hiring all the way up into the first game, talking about a reckoning, stirring the pot, which I appreciate. Don't misunderstand me. I appreciate that. In a lot of ways, NC State fans, basketball fans, needed this to light a fire under their ass for what is a very proud basketball culture. So I got zero issues with how Will Wade talked the talk throughout the offseason. However, the thing is, you got to back it up. You got to back it up. And we've gone from the reckoning to the hostile takeover to now let me see if I got this right. Quote, we'll appreciate the struggle. That's not what was said on day one. It was not, hey, guys, we're going to build something. There might be some growing pains, but I'm really, really excited about building a culture here at NC State, and we're going to be doing some great things. That's not what this was. This was not, and I quote, we'll appreciate the struggle. That was not the sell, nor is it the sell. Hey, go look at the rest of the ACC and show me who's got a tougher schedule than us so far going into conference play. Well, here's the thing about Q1 opportunities. And again, this is a thing that I have through the podcast, and I don't expect Will Wade to listen to the podcast, but maybe somebody who does work on the staff listens to the podcast. I have no idea. I've been trying to say this as politely as possible. You cannot bullshit people here. And you can't say, well, look at our Q1 opportunities. Joe, how many coaches have come through NC State and have used the look at our Q1 opportunities? Here's the funny thing about Q1 opportunities. You have to do something with said Q1 opportunities. Did we not see this last year with North Carolina?
We did.
Have we not seen this with Kevin Keats?
2019 in particular, yes.
Have we not seen this with Mark Gottfried?
Pretty much every year, but his first year, yes, for sure.
So great schedule. And I understand that the vibe.
Heck, go back to Les Robinson in 95 when he had a really good team. They lost all these games by a bunch of bounces and quirks and last second losses.
Yeah,
and it was like, no, we're really good. We just can't win.
Sports are funny like that, right? Saturday looked like it was fantastic. They had the stripe thing going on. It was a big time atmosphere. That's all part of the appeal of why you bring Will Wade here. However, Saturday you view differently if you have cashed in other Q1 opportunities. Flip the Texas game. Flip the Auburn game. Hell, flip the Seton Hall game. Just flip Hawaii just flip it all together. And then you can look at what happened on Saturday, a close overtime loss, and view it as a, hey, look, ups and downs, ball bounce is kind of funny. We went toe-to-toe with Kansas. It was a great atmosphere. We'll learn from this and move on. But when you have nothing to show for it with these Q1 opportunities, I'm not really here for we'll appreciate the struggle. Now, in defense of Will Wade, to credit Will Wade, he did say that they're not really panicking. They have opportunities. You have ACC play. But he also admits their backs are against the wall when it comes to making the NCAA tournament, which cuts back to day one with Will Wade. Because, again, it was not we'll appreciate the struggle. It was we're an NCAA tournament team. They've run out of opportunities to necessarily do it out of league. VCU looks a little bit better. I get that. Boise looks a little bit better. I get that. But that's not the sell with these Q1 opportunities.
He's made two big mistakes. Number one was the messaging that he used. I understood the motivation behind it, but I never liked it. That's not really what NC State's DNA is about. It is out there with their bluster and running their mouth before they do anything. NC State's the underdog. NC State's the overlooked. NC State's the one who comes up and fights and knocks off Duke, knocks off Carolina. You don't sit at the top of the mountain with them. That's not where you want to be either. You want to be the one that fights them. You want to be the one that gets them when they ain't paying attention. Maybe sometimes when they are.
Sure.
In DC in the ACC tournament, right? That was mistake number one. Mistake number two is I don't know if it's a full-on NBA analytical approach, but there's a difference between NBA basketball and college basketball. There's a difference between putting a team together for an 82-game schedule and a 48-minute game than there is for a 40-minute game. And analytic-wise, how you're going to play and how you're going to shoot threes and how you're going to defend threes. That was obviously a mistake that was made. It was very clear in their exhibition game. It was very clear even when they were running hot in the first 3 games of the season. It was very clear to anybody who wanted to watch the games that their strategy was to intentionally leave people open to take shots and bet on the math that they were going to miss those shots. That was a mistake. To his credit, in the last 2 games, I feel like they have learned how to play at a level, at an effort level, at an intensity level that is necessary for them to win basketball games. In regulation, they gave up 66 points to Kansas.
Yep.
Darren Peterson was out for a good chunk of the end of this game. And if you weren't in the building on Saturday, you might not have appreciated what you were watching, but you were watching the number 1 pick in the NBA draft. He's a really, really skilled player. Yeah. He has an incredible athletic gift in his length and his skill. And he is going to be in the NBA for a very long time.
There's a lot of pressure on Bill Self in that Kansas squad and his role, and he's been in and out of the lineup due to injury issues throughout the season.
That is the hottest I have ever been at the Lenovo Center.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I'm telling you, they found the Reynolds World War II heat and they cranked it up because they had the graduation there.
Yeah.
So the heat was, I have never been that hot in that building ever. And I've been in that building since it opened.
Sure.
Okay. For every event, you name it, I've been in that building for it.
Mm-hmm.
Concert, draft, hockey, basketball, indoor football, you name it. I've been in that building for it. That's the hottest I've ever been. So there may have been some cramping issues there for Peterson. Not 100% sure what was going on there. So the mistake, though, is you have this analytical approach, and it's not like, I'm being the dinosaur from Moneyball telling you,
no,
you have to scout and this and that, and it's about people and blah, 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 blah. What I'm telling you is the last two games, the way that they've played, they have played the defensively, they've played in a way, even with Melvin Council's performance, that you can win basketball games. You can win that way. The problem is you haven't left yourself any margin for error. And now you enter ACC play, and they get Ole Miss on Sunday.
But Ole Miss
right now is not, it's actually not a Q1 game, even on a neutral site for them. And that's obviously not great for them, but who knows? They get 9 games right now in the league. That would be Q1s if everything stays the same. The issue there, I believe, is 6 of them are on the road.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned throw out Hawaii or flip Hawaii or do this or do that. Auburn, Hawaii. Well, the truth of the matter is the Kansas game was at home. That was on your home floor.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of situations that you have to defend, you have to take care of.
Sure.
And that now this gets back into this NBA mindset of how you built a roster. And I've had questions about the construction of this roster pretty early, and I will continue to have questions about them, but you can't spend all year complaining about the roster.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate what he has done in these last 2 games. He's turned this thing over to Kadir Copeland, and he is the bus driver now.
Yep.
I'm the captain now.
Yep.
It ain't Darian Williams.
Yep.
Darian Williams made 3 threes at the end of regulation and in overtime and was a effective player.
Mm-hmm.
But he is clearly not the leading personality of this team. Again, going back to the exhibition game when he didn't assert himself, I said, you can't be the preseason player of the year and have 16 games in a game that features 160 points. You got to be more aggressive, assertive than that.
Yeah.
So Will Wade is trying now to undo the mistakes that he's made.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mixed bag so far with the Liberty and Kansas games in terms of results, but in terms of the way they're playing and how he's trying to problem solve and get the right combinations on the floor, that's going to serve them well moving forward. The only way to fix the first mistake of the messaging is to have the season end the way that you wanted it to and the way that you promised it would.
Yes.
And that is in the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we'll see. He is a skilled enough coach that in those 9 opportunities on December 15th that he still has in front of him, that he could win 5 of those opportunities and find himself in the NCAA tournament, probably in a very similar situation to what Kevin Keats was in 18, his first year, and in 23, just kind of a, end of the board at large team.
But that's not what you brought
every
him here.
situation that Mark Gottfried was ever in, end of the board at large, maybe one of the last teams in. Every situation that Herb Sendek was in, except for one time when he was a 3 seed down in Orlando and lost to Matt Frici.
But you see what you're doing here?
I'm just telling you, but I'm saying that's the situation. That's their best case scenario right now.
I get that.
Okay,
I get that.
So you made 2 mistakes, and now you're trying. I respect that he is trying to fix those 2 mistakes. I respect that.
Okay, I agree with you, and I had jotted that down as well. But I want to make something really, really clear here. You're rattling off names of former coaches, and the entire operation to bring Will Wade here, why the money was backed up to bring him here, was so that it was not another one of these situations. So on that level, it has been a failure to start the season. I don't think I'm out of pocket in saying that.
No.
They have not delivered on the promise of his entire existence at NC State, was to flip all that stuff that you just talked about. Keats, Gottfried, Sendek. That's not what this was. Not what this was. So they failed on that level. But it is what it is. You are here. Season's not over. How do you fix it? To your point, one thing I will always respect about coaches, and I jotted this down as well, and what I appreciated about the hostile takeover monologue, I mean, he basically gave a WWE style promo to Matt Chazanow in the pregame.
Mhm.
Okay. He went
That was before the Asheville game.
the Asheville game.
Yeah.
For 6 minutes, he went. And I thought it was really, really impressive. One thing that I love is coaches who decide I'm going to coach the team I have rather than the team that I wanted
Or thought I
would have.
Yep.
So to your point, if Kadir Copeland is the guy who's the bus driver, we're clearly seeing that shift. We'll see where it goes from there. Now, the key here is to make sure that Darian Williams still stays involved, because as you saw in this game against Kansas, he can still contribute and make big shots that puts you in a position to potentially win that game and pull that thing off in overtime. But I'll be really interested to see how they kind of tinker with this thing before they get into the heart of ACC play and those road games that you talk about. But I'm not going to back off the whole reason why we're here, the whole reason why Will Wade's here. And as we sit here on December 15th, they have not followed through on the promises of the entirety of the offseason. They have not delivered. And we're right back in that NC State missed Q1 opportunities. Now you're going to rely on the ACC to help you out, which, as we know, the last couple of years hasn't exactly been a very reliable thing. Let's get back to the sports phone. Let's go to 8336.
What's up, guys? NC State falls to fucking Kansas after letting their worst fucking three-point shooter hit about fucking a million threes. Anyways, Giglio, I'll give you credit. You were right after the South Carolina exhibition game that this defense is a long way to go. And it seems they haven't fucking fixed their switching concept. He was open all fucking night. Anyways, tough loss. Fucking hell. I still have faith in Will Wade, but God, he's got to fix this shit.
To that point, you had sent me this clip from Field of 68, and Council's on with Rob Doster and Jeff Goodman. The audio's a little wonky because it looks like he's at RDU.
I feel like he's at the airport or something.
Yeah, it looks like he's at RDU, so the audio is a little wonky here. But again, this is a guy who had 5 threes made on the season.
Going into the state game, he was 5 of 27 from 3, which is 18%.
Okay.
He made 9 of 15 against State, which is 60%. His 2 high-scoring games added up to 32 points. 15 against Duke, 17 against Tennessee. He had 36 against NC State.
Here he is with Field of 68.
Have you ever had a game where you shot 15 threes in a game before? Not at all. Have you ever made 9 threes in a game? What was your career high before this?
Probably 2 or 3.
What about like middle school or high school, Melvin? What was your
No.
2 or 3?
And that big shouts and thanks to Alex Dunnelly, who joined me on Saturday.
Yeah, big shouts to Alex.
He pointed this out. Like the first 3 attempts of his 3-pointers that Council took, he was mostly open.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, everyone believes they're a shooter. And if you give them open looks and they make them, well, guess what? They're going to think they know they're a shooter now. And so the other attempts, they did a better job of closing out on him. But by that point, he was already so confident and so hot that he wasn't paying attention to his 18%. He was looking at it like, I'm feeling it, guys. And you know why I'm feeling it? Because I got 3 clean looks and knocked them all down.
Joe,
That was a great point by Don.
what did we talk about after your exchange? And it became this, well, I don't want to give away state secrets here. I see what you're getting at here. I don't want to get too into this, but the math is going to math on this. What did I say? You can try to solve sports like a math problem all you want, but that's not why we watch sports. Sports is not a math problem. It is human beings. And like you said, sometimes you give people an opportunity, they're feeling it, look good, play good, feel good, things are going to happen. And you can math it all day, but how many times in the history of basketball do you have the hero of a day? And every single one in the triangle, and I know Carolina fans feel this all the time. They're like, oh, so you mean the guy who never hit a 3 like all season long? Now he's suddenly the hero of the day at the Smith Center? Where have we seen that before? And I know I've triggered some Carolina fans because they could probably reel off all these dudes who have come to the Smith Center who have never hit a 3, or they hit 1 or 2 threes a day and they hit 5 in a night.
Harold, the show, Arsena.
Ding, 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 ding. And NC State fans can also reel off a bunch of dudes. I'm like, oh, so here's like the local area kid that didn't get an opportunity at NC State, and now he's going to bury us?
Coined the term Wolfpack hero for a day.
There you go, right? We know this to be true. We have countless examples of this. So when I got the whole math explanation, I'm like, that's great. but one of these dudes is going to put it on you. What happened on Saturday? Exactly this.
Especially when, they couldn't have gone any better for them with Badunga getting the foul trouble early.
Yeah.
I thought that was really going to be an issue for them, especially after the Liberty game. Liberty had no size.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought all of the things that they had shown against Liberty translated against Kansas because of Badunga's absence. Peterson, showed a little bit. Obviously, there's just not, you're not going to hold him down. And then all of a sudden, Council, he scored all of their points at the end of regulation.
I know.
All of them.
I know.
It was wild.
2-9-1-9.
I'm just wondering if the analytics tell you that when a guy's made 8 3-pointers, you should just continue to leave them wide fucking open.
2-9-1-9.
I wasn't done. I got cut off. All right. So, I think last but not least.
Oh, by the way, real quick note there, because you heard the call. I got cut off. Look, y'all, there's a 3-minute cap on these calls. Typically, if the call's 3 minutes, I ain't playing it. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah.
But what I always appreciate, what I typically will play, because this is what ends up happening. You rambled for 3 minutes. You had to get it out into the. I get it. That's what the sports phone is for. You just got to get it off your chest. Yeah. But typically, when I get all right, I got cut off, but all right, to wrap my point, now we're talking.
Throw the fucking analytics thing out the window.
Oh, hold on a second. Where did it go? Oh, yeah, here it is.
I'm sorry, but you've been burned by all this analytics thing. Multiple games. Oh, well, we like to let them shoot their shots because, that's the shots that are bad. Okay. Texas. Oh, well, typically they're not a really great three-point shooting team, so we're going to let them shoot, three-pointers. And what do they end up shooting? Fucking 50%. Oh, that's great, Oh, well, tonight in Kansas, number 14, he only shoots about 18% of the fucking three-pointers. All right, that's also great. Guess what? He had 9 fucking three-pointers. So, adjust your defense to guard this guy, or are you just going to keep letting the analytics run this shit? I am also a Tampa Bay Rays fan, and if you've kept up with the World Series or anything, analytics told Kevin Cash, the manager of the Tampa Bay Rays, take Blake Snell out in the World Series. Now, how does this relate? Well, analytics told him to take Blake Snell out. Well, what happened once you took the starting pitcher out? Well, the team completely collapsed, and then they started giving up runs. Point being, you can't always rely on analytics. You got to rely on the eye test. If a fucking player starts making threes in your face, and you're like, oh, well, he just shoots 18% of my, his shots that go in. All right, well, if he starts making them, put a body on him. I mean, my God, is it that hard? All right, I think that's it. If you guys play this one too, love you guys. I don't think I said that on the last one, but anyways, that's over. All right.
I love that he found the passion in the second call. I mean, that's hard to recreate after you get fired up.
Yeah.
And then the thing is, take a breath,
fired
and
up.
calm down.
I'm calling back. Not only that, you called back and you got to hear my stupid spiel again on the Google Voice. I respect that. That's what I want to know.
Hey, Joe, thought you might want to ask him again about the three-point shooting because fucking Green Shoes, whoever the fuck that was, hit 80 shots against us and lost the game. So maybe we shouldn't look at analytics and should just guard all 5 men on the floor. Thank you.
Sports is not a math problem. All right. One more call.
Hey, guys. Just wanted to call about the State Kansas game. It's unfortunately I had some bad news. Good news. Bad news, it was my kid's first time getting to stay up a little later watching an NC State game. And got to experience his first experience, for the NC State Wolfpack, just heartbreaking loss. And he got real upset, started crying, and I had to give him that, Simpsons talk of, this is the worst loss of your life so far, because there will probably be many, many more horrible losses like that being a State fan. But on the bright side and the good news, honestly, I think the team showed a lot of improvement, played a lot better defense, and kind of can see the progress being made. They've dug themselves a big hole in the season, but I honestly think this team's got an opportunity to turn this around and hopefully make a hell of a season out of this in conference play. All right, guys. Love the show.
All right. I lied. One more call. 910.
All right, Joe and Joe. Listening to the After Dark, watched the game against Kansas. And this is the last time for this season that I want to hear or think in my mind moral victory. Fact of the matter was that was the most fight I've seen out of a state team in a while. Kansas is likely going to be, if not win the Big 12, they're going to be, at least in that top 3 of the Big 12. I know it doesn't count as a home loss, but in my mind, that's what I was expecting to see in Maui. That's the type of performance I was expecting to see in Maui. So, I think the baby steps are there. You come back, beat Texas Southern pretty hard, in Reynolds later this week, sets up to beat Ole Miss. Then the Giglio Bowl of Wake Forest looms large, on New Year's Eve. But this loss, I'll be honest with you, the game ended, and I wasn't that upset. 2 good looks at the end of overtime, just didn't fall. That's going to happen sometimes. But every time that I thought State was going to get run out of the gym, they figured out a way to manage to come back. And I do agree with you, Giglio. I think Copeland is the bus driver. I think Williams is a great number 2, but I do think that Copeland's actually the one driving this team. So anyway, hey, good thoughts after the loss, but I do think it's going to turn around and we're going to see some pretty positive things for the rest of December. Love what you guys do, and hope y'all have a great holiday season.
Again, appreciate all the calls to the OG sports phone. And yeah, to get back to the caller's point and to your point about what's happening here as we get into ACC play, you're threading a fine needle going forward.
Yeah, I mean, you have more opportunities than you had in the past few years, for sure. The league is better than it has been. But again, a lot of those are on the road, and a lot of them are late. Like those Duke and Carolina games are so late, might work to your advantage. Maybe you figure more things out as you go along. Maybe you get that hierarchy going. Maybe you get Paul McNeil or Matt Abel to a point where they can help you.
Yeah.
Right now, they're negatives, and you need them to help you. When your shooters can't help you, and you're an offense based on shooting threes and your 2 best shooters aren't contributing, that's a problem. You got to fix that. And I mean, that's where coaching, you got to put your coaching boots on and get to work. And I think he has the last 2 games, but he has to continue that.
Let's close on a positive note. 20704.
What's up, Joes? Not sure if y'all have talked about this, but I just want to give a quick shout out to the NC State men's soccer team playing for a national championship tomorrow night versus Washington. Great season. First time since 1983, NC State has a chance to compete for a national championship in a men's team sport, so I thought I'd just throw that out there. But yeah, go Pack. Big game on Monday.
I went to the soccer game on Friday. It was cold. I was in the old days. This would have been a shot at Joe. Well, I'll hit you with all my points right here. Coaching, it becomes crystallized to me when you see it. I know nothing about this NC State men's soccer team. I did not do any homework. I just went to the game.
Sure.
I watched it. Paige Marsh, who is George Tarantini's widow, and Elliot Avent, one of his best friends, they were at the game. I saw them there. Went with my wife. Went with Jonathan Ham, who said to me, "Are you going to the soccer game?" And I was like, "Man, I haven't been all year. I haven't been following soccer." He's like, "I think maybe George would have want you to go to the game."
Yeah, go to the game.
I said, "Okay."
Go to the game.
He got us tickets. We went to the game. Didn't know anything about this team. First thing I see, number 6, Nikola Markovic from Quebec. Joe, the kid is a tank. All right. He's their defender on the back end. 6'4", 6'3", 6'4", big kid. Stands out immediately. Second kid you notice is their scorer. And Jonathan told me Donovan Phillip is his name. He's from St. Lucia. Okay.
Nice.
Okay. Again, 6'2", 6'1", 6'2", big kid, skilled kid, has been like scoring a bunch of goals. You're going, all right, from St. Lucia. Okay. Then the other kid on the outside, number 13. And I'm looking at this kid. Elliot comes up to me before the game and he goes, I've been going to soccer all these years. I've been going to all these games. I still don't know shit about soccer. And I said, I get that. He goes, do you know the rules? And I was like, some. I didn't grow up all I know from soccer, I was taught by George. And so I said, I know some, but I said, it's just like any other sport. You'll watch it. You'll know. 13, his name is Tommy Kalem. He's from South Africa, from Cape Town. He made a couple of plays, and I promise you, I'm not a soccer snob, but sometimes in soccer, they make plays that don't lead to goals.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, well, how do you know they're good? Well, because it's a good play when you see it.
Yes.
Right? He plays on the outside. He made a couple phenomenal plays. He actually set up Phillips' first goal in this game. But I texted Elliot, and I said, 13. I said, Coach would have loved 13.
Mm-hmm.
And our friend, Brett Barker, posted some pictures on Facebook. He knows Tommy. And he goes, I'd love to introduce you to this kid. I said, listen, I'm not jinxing anybody. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not doing anything. We can figure something out maybe later in the week.
Yeah.
I said, but that's exactly the kind of player that Coach would have enjoyed. So Quebec, South Africa, St. Lucia. One of the things at the time in the 2000s, Coach Tarantini had tremendous success in the 90s. It was, right when I got there as well, 1990, they went and they went to Final Four, lost to UCLA in penalty kicks. Okay, an unbelievable UCLA team, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But in the 2000s, North Carolina started having a lot of success under Elmar Bolowich, and his successor, Carlos, can't remember Carlos's last name right now. And it was all local kids, Castle kids, literally local kids.
Yeah.
And Lee Fowler was like, George, you have to play local kids. You have to go recruit these local kids. And George was like, that's not what soccer's about. Soccer is about the opportunities. He's from Argentina.
Mm.
He got to this country with no money and didn't know English. Okay. A ham sandwich every day. He'd go and practice at the when he was working construction in New York City. He'd go, I'm going to order a ham sandwich. Oh, finally, he tried to learn how to hamburger. Walks up to the stand and he goes, ham sandwich, because that's all he knew.
Yeah.
Okay. It was about opportunity. Quebec, South Africa, St. Lucia. So salute to Mark Hubbard. Salute to Boo Corrigan, who hired Mark Hubbard from New Hampshire. All right. Mark Hubbard's a 44-year-old coach. First year last year, they go 10-5-5, 2-1 in the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm.
This year, they're 16-2-4. 4-0 in the NCAA tournament. So he's 6-1 in the NCAA tournament in 2 years. That's the Red Reckoning. And also that when you sit there and call in and ask me, well, who are you going to get? When you're NC State, you're not going to do any better. What coach are you going to get? You're going to get a 44-year-old from New Hampshire named Mark Hubbard. And when you watch this team and they play with confidence, after covering sports for almost 30 years and watching them my whole life, I now know what coaching is. It's when you watch a team play with confidence the way that this team does, and you realize coaching is putting your players in position to be their absolute best and convincing them they're better than they really are. And that's what this guy has done, win or lose tonight. It's amazing to watch. We are obviously spoiled by it in this area.
Oh, yeah.
With Mike Krzyzewski, Dean Smith, Roy Williams, Rod Brindamore.
There's soccer success in that triangle, too.
Of course.
I mean,
Anson Dorrance.
Dorrance.
My man, Damon Nahas, who I had to text on Friday night. I'm like, you're rooting for the right team tonight, right?
I was going to ask you, did you text your boy?
I said, you're rooting for us, right? Damon played for Coach Tarantino at NC State, leads North Carolina's women to the national championship last year in women's soccer. So he's like, of course I am. So, okay, just making sure. But it's crystallized. When we ask these eternal questions, what is coaching? We ask these questions. Well, who are you going to get?
Yeah.
So salute to Boo Corrigan for hiring a really good coach from New Hampshire. Okay.
What a concept.
You never know, guys. You never know unless you go out and make it your job to go and hire a really good coach. There's the Red Reckoning. 6-1 in 2 years in the NCAA tournament.
That's impressive.
Sweet 16 first year national championship game this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Red Reckoning. Salute to Mark Hubbard, who was at the Kansas basketball game. They showed him on the first time out, and everyone's cheering, everyone's going crazy, and he was just kind of like, one more game. We got one more game. That's what he was saying. Because that's also the mark of a true champion. You never rest until the job's done.
Now, speaking of good coaching, a couple of other basketball notes: Duke and North Carolina. Before we get to housekeeping, Michigan's the story. Michigan is the story of the college basketball season. They are destroying everybody. Everybody. All right. It's really impressive. If Michigan wasn't doing what they're doing, all eyes would be on Duke and John Shire in this group and the resume that they've built so far on the season.
Mm-hmm. Both things can be true. Michigan might be the number one team in the country, but Duke has a better resume than anybody.
Agreed. Wins against Texas, Kansas, Arkansas, Florida, Michigan State. But to your point about coaching, here's John Shire. Halftime against Michigan State. Fox College Hoops put this out on social media. Quote, "We haven't done shit yet." I just gave you the resume, and they're playing Michigan State. They got good wins already. They had just come off a really good win against Florida. We haven't done shit yet.
Not a game for coming down, first look, not hitting. It's just not that game. It's not that game. It's a game of will. All right. It's a one possession game. We haven't done shit yet, man. We haven't done shit yet. All right. So look, get our mentality. We got to take it up a step now. Just like Tennessee. Tennessee, we felt what the game was about. We came back out. That's how it's got to be in this game. All right. They still think they're tougher, just so you guys know. They still think they're tougher. All right. They have not seen our best. They made some shots they normally don't hit, and it's a 3-point game.
Hell yeah.
So I want you guys going out there confident, but also going out there confident, understanding what we have to do. All right, so whatever we got to do to get our mindset, we're going out there, tell you something the whole way, I'm not standing. Can't play tired in this game. All right, we got it? Yes, sir. That's
So, of course, to go out there and win it. Although, did I catch that?
Do not make me, in our year in review, go back and replay your calls, people, about, or even you, Joe, Ovies, it's an exhibition game. Why are you getting so fired up over an exhibition game? I'm 2-0 on exhibition game takes. That means I'm undefeated. Okay? Undefeated. And I appreciate John for continually referencing the Tennessee game.
He's referencing that Tennessee game.
But you see how he communicates with his team?
No, it's great. It's great.
It's so different. It's so different than Mike.
It's calm, but
Mike's peeling paint in there.
I know.
You know what I mean?
You're right. That's the one
different
thing.
generation.
It's
man.
the one thing about Shire that I've had to adjust in watching him, grow into this role and in our conversations with him. Not that we've had a lot, but in the conversations we've had with him, it's like it's calm, but there's forceful's behind it. Like there's what he's getting at, and you don't have to scream to get your point across. Yep. And I think that's an impressive showing so far. Now, I will admit that I did not watch the Carolina USC upstate game.
No, I did not either.
But I did the classic trap of, I got my Apple score widget and I see the final score. I'm like, oh shit, okay. It's your typical kind of sleepy December exams. They took care of business, whatever. But then, in being stuck at the airport yesterday in Nashville, I was catching up on stuff that I missed. And I'm reading Tar Heel 24/7, reading Andrew, and I'm like, oh, it wasn't that kind of game. And oh, I missed Hubert Davis lighting their asses up in this game. Typical Hubert Davis, very demonstrative. He's not going to curse, obviously. I saw some of the post-game audio, and he was like, yeah, there was a lot of bejeebies in there because he's not going to curse, right? So, and Caleb Wilson had some interesting things to say about exams and, is he nursing an injury? Got a Seth Tremble update too. I'll say this about Carolina so far. I mean, this is a very standard issue, sleepy December. Hubert Davis has to remind you the effort is required every game. Every game. And they beat you on the glass and they're smaller than you. That's unacceptable. That was the other thing that, again, not looking at the score widget, I went and looked at the box score and I went, I'm sorry, USC Upstate did what off on the rebounds? Interesting. So anyway, it's all classic stuff that nothing really to raise an eyebrow about. However, I think something is becoming abundantly clear, and there was like a minor Seth Tremble update in terms of where he's at, where we are clearly, we know this team has not fully unlocked without Tremble on the floor. And while you're getting good quality minutes for the backcourt, And, you get Bogovic getting some opportunities, and, Derek Dixon came up big a couple of games ago, all that kind of stuff. Great that you've done it by committee, but I think we all understand that they need Seth Trimble. And we're not really ready to judge this team wholly, even though they got some good wins so far this season. We know they're not fully judged yet without Trimble. We kind of understand what his importance is going forward. So that's just something to keep an eye on. Although they're still kind of unclear as to when Trimble is going to come back, at least based on what I read. But hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later. Housekeeping is brought to you by Enovana. Check them out online at enovana.com. Green Cleaning Solutions.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it green clean with Enovana.
Yeah, I suggest the gift of Enovana. You're looking for a stocking stuffer or something like that. One, clean. Come out to your house, clean it up after the holidays, and everybody will be happy. It's time for a meeting. I propose. Do we have quorum?
We're all here.
We're here. Okay. It's got an OG Media LLC board meeting here. Having a meeting. I propose we don't publish a show tomorrow, and we start knocking out our year in review tomorrow.
Okay, that's fine.
So instead of just doing a normal run-of-the-mill show, we do part 1 and 2 of our year in review to publish the week of Christmas. Now, the cadence on that, right? What's our cadence on that? You want to drop something on Tuesday, the 23rd, and then Christmas Day, Thursday? I mean, we want OG under the tree.
I was going to say go back to back, 23, 24. Drop it at midnight on the 24th. That way, if there are people who open their gifts at midnight, some people do. I used to growing up.
So you want to do it midnight the 25th?
Yeah, technically the 25th.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
12:01.
So you want to drop
Christmas miracle.
So you want to drop something on Monday the 22nd and then midnight? Wednesday, Thursday?
I mean, I don't know what your travel schedule is.
I'm here.
Depending on the Panthers and State Ole Miss. Like I'm not opposed to actually doing a show on the 22nd because anybody can podcast on a Monday.
Okay. I wasn't planning on coming in Monday.
I know, but
if you want to knock out something quick.
The world continues. I think NC State's bowl game is over that weekend too, right?
It's the 19th.
Yeah.
We got the first round of the college football playoff as well.
And we got that. So it feels
you
like
do something
anybody
Monday?
can podcast on a Monday. Feels like.
Okay. But you still want to do the best of stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm asking you to work twice in 14 days, buddy. It's okay.
Yeah. Here's the thing, Joe. Here's the thing. What do you know about me after having worked in the corporate world for a long time? My ass had like 5 weeks of vacation.
I understand.
I never worked in December.
I understand.
You know how many Fridays I took off in December back in the day?
Big shouts to James Vito. Did a very good job. And of course, Hayes Permar on Thursday from the, what was it called? The OG Barely Lit or Before Dark? In the Dark. OG
In the Dark?
OG
In the Dark? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And whatever fucking technology gremlin that you release on me every time you're not here, I would appreciate it if you would stop doing that. Okay?
Sounds like skill issue to me. So you want to work on Monday the 22nd?
Yeah, we might as well. We got a lot to get into. 22nd. Which means tomorrow we can record and knock out some things.
Well, that was what I proposed. Now you're proposing more work.
I hear you, buddy. I feel like you can do it. I have faith in you.
Okay. Fine. You know what y'all need to do if I'm going to work more? I need y'all to go to breakingtea.com/OG. I've seen some commission emails come in. Y'all are going out there. They got like mystery shirts. They're doing like deals every day. So if you're looking for some stocking stuffers, may I suggest you just go to breakingtea.com/OG and give the gift of the OG under the tree. Or you can head on over to the secret stash, the OG.shop. Again, that's the OG.shop, where Mikey P's got some stuff that really I don't feel comfortable talking about out loud because I don't need the lawyers on our ass. So head on over to the OG.shop. Again, that's the OG.shop. I need to talk to Matt Davis over at State Farm about financially planning for travel hockey in 2026 because your boy's broke after this weekend. So if you find yourself in that situation, by all means, talk to our guy, Matt Davis. Not only does he do home and auto with State Farm, he can help you financially plan and come up with a better budgeting scheme than I did this year. Anyway, again, that's insuregarner.com or call them directly at 919-779-8277. Big thanks to our friends at Roback. You can check them out online at roback.com. Speaking of Christmas, they got great patterns. You got the Clark Griswold, like you got the Cousin Eddie quarter zip, which I have. They got the Griswold like station wagon.
Oh, I didn't know there was another variation.
Yeah, there's like a station wagon version of it. It's pretty good. I saw you walking up to the studio today in this cold ass weather in your snowflakes.
I know, I got it
over there.
Yep, I got
that fleece. You got your hoodie up.
on. Yep.
Tell you what, the Roback hoodie got work while we're up in Nashville, so that was good too. So again, check them out online at roback.com. Use that promo code OG20. Again, that's OG20 to save 20% off your order. Speaking of the holidays, our friends at the Butcher's Market can make it really easy for you. You might be invited to like a Christmas Eve brunch. You might be invited to a friend's gathering of some sort. It's probably a potluck, right? Head on over to the Butcher's Market, and they can have stuff ready to go for you, including those ham biscuits, right? Or you just don't have a lot of time because you're running around all over the place. You need an easy meal. They got meals ready to go. And you're still thinking about gifts at the last minute? May I suggest the steak of the month? Who doesn't want the gift of meat every month? So head on over to thebutchersmarkets.com. Again, that's thebutchersmarkets.com. And speaking of gifts and showing up places, I know it's really cold outside, but it's always time for Two Roosters. Check them out online, tworoosters.com. They've got great holiday flavors right now. You can pick up a pint, bring it to a gathering, or just bring it for yourself, right? And they also have ice cream cakes and whatnot that you can bring to your holiday party. So check them out online.
You cannot go wrong with the ice cream cake.
No, you can't.
Seriously, it's great serving, great value.
So head on over to tworoosters.com to find out how you can order online or just drop by their various locations across the triangle and get some goodies for the holidays. Oh, buddy, we are tracking for a 2-hour show today. That's fine. We have a lot to get into today. Panthers blew it. They blew it. I don't want to say I called it, but that's exactly what happened. I know last week we talked to Julian Council from Locked On Panthers podcast. The week before that, we talked to Walker Mail of WFNZ. And the big question that I had about the Panthers, and the vibes were immaculate. Don't get me wrong.
What a gift from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Thursday.
Or it was more of a gift from the Atlanta Falcons, really. So thanks to the Falcons for not go full falconing here. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers want to give this division to you. Look, OG20, great promo code. But the Bucs are like, hey, Panthers, have you used OG Buccaneers? Because we got this division on sale right now. Would you like it? And the Panthers were up, what, 17-7?
17-7 in the second half.
And they're like, no, we don't. We actually want to make this more difficult than it needs to be. And that was my big question coming out of an open day. And that's probably the thing that would bother me the most being a Carolina Panthers. You had an extra week to be frosty, ready to go. And the Buccaneers gave you a gift. And all you got to do is beat the freaking Saints. Revenge. After they embarrassed you at home. And you went out there and gagged that thing.
Sometimes you accurately accuse me of having gambling brain, but there is a value to having gambling brain.
Oh, boy. What did I miss?
What is BR again? What is that?
It's Bleacher Report.
Bleacher Report posted at 10:57 a.m. yesterday. Public betting warning.
Oh, boy.
The biggest, the most bet on team to cover was the Panthers, -2.5. 79% of the wagers were on the Panthers. My response at whatever time in the morning was, yikes.
Uh-oh.
Yikes. And lo and behold, but yeah, it took the 17-7 lead to kick in before the Panthers decided, you know what? I don't need to play anymore.
Yeah, and I think the part that was probably even more bothersome is that as sloppy as they played, including the defense taking unnecessary penalties, and the Saints also penaltied their way through as well. But there were a couple of things that were red flags, even going back to the first half. It wasn't necessarily the lead. It was the fact that there was a slog of a drive by the Saints in the first half that resulted in a touchdown that should never have happened if the defense has been cooking the way that it is. And look, you notice there's a problem when Tyler Shuck is getting looked at as like, hey guys, they might have something here. Yeah, they've done it against the Panthers twice.
Half of their wins, yes.
That's a problem. And Dave Canales, say all you want about, because I think last week there was some rumblings, little bit of rumblings. Hey, why not Dave Canales for Coach of the Year? Not if you lose to the Saints twice. This Saints team twice. in full rebuild mode. And also, I know late in the fourth quarter with the Panthers tied up, having the ball, they had that graphic ready to go.
At the ready?
They had that graphic updated.
Here's a graphic they're not going to update you on because
graphic I'm referencing is the game-winning drives for Bryce Young, by the way, if you weren't picking up what I was putting down. They had that graphic ready to go.
So in Atlanta, in the Mercedes-Benz Dome, Bryce Young is Joe Montana, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady. He's unbelievable. He's amazing. Doesn't lose. In New Orleans, in the Mercedes-Benz, it just depends on where you're getting your Benz.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
0-3 now. 0-3, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and 153 yards per game. Joe, these are not the vintage Sean Payton, Drew Brees Saints that he's 0-3 against and can't even throw for 160 yards. 175 yards. It's kind of sort of embarrassing.
It is
the way that he plays against the Saints.
Yeah.
Hey, horses for courses. Some teams have your number. I get it.
That's true. But also, I think embarrassing is the right word because we spent the better part of 2 weeks giving the Panthers the credit that they were due for putting themselves in a position to take what has always traditionally been a dumpster fire of a division in the NFL. And you kind of got the sense that the Buccaneers were going to give you an opportunity to make this thing work. But the good news for the Panthers is that the loss doesn't sink them entirely. They do have these 2 games remaining over the last 3 weeks of the season against the Buccaneers. That's how the schedule works out. So you beat the Buccaneers in week 16 and week 18. Well, you're golden. Okay. If you split that, you do need some help. Mike K over the Charlotte Observer put it succinctly. If they were to lose to the Buccaneers at Bank of America Stadium next week, they would need to beat the Seahawks at home in week 17 and get some help from the Miami Dolphins that same week against Tampa Bay. If the Panthers and the Buccaneers enter week 18 at 8-8, the season finale would essentially be a playoff game with the winner going to the postseason with a division crown. If they don't flex that into Sunday night football, let's say we do get the situation where the Buccaneers and the Panthers are 8-8 with the division on the line and the playoffs on the line, you got to put that on primetime.
The 2 teams are 7-7 overall and 2-2 in the division. So the loss did not help. They could have had a stranglehold on this thing to the point where they could have played them in week 16, beat them, and been done, regardless of the Seattle outcome.
And that was the big question. Again, that was the big question that I had last week. And I was accused. I get it. It's social media. People just want to ride the vibes and they're feeling good. And it's been a long time since you've been able to feel good about the Panthers. So I'm not belittling the attitude. I just want to make that clear. I just had a legitimate question of how do you break this cycle? Can the Panthers finally break out of this cycle where they look like they've put it together and then look like they've forgotten how to play football the following week? And again, I'll
got a little bit of both in this game.
I will repeat myself. It's even more embarrassing that it happened after an open date where you have extra time to prepare against a Saints team that you should beat if you are turning a corner and you know you've got this division on the line or put a stranglehold on this division. So that's what makes it doubly maddening. If you're going to break out of this cycle of just being an average to just below average NFL team, it's going to require this cycles of ups and downs. And I'm not here to make this, and I have to stay true to what I've said about Bryce Young and this referendum game to game. At the end of the day, kind of had a Bryce Young game, and they had an opportunity to win a game again. Another one of these game-winning drives that probably would have resulted in a field goal to win it, but not the point. And there's probably some cuteness there where, hey, man, not everything has to be fourth down magic. Sometimes just do the easy thing, okay? Just do the easy thing sometimes. And sometimes Dave Canales can get a little too in his head as to what I'm trying to do here when the easy play is there. So it follows the cycle that has been the Panthers all year. Watch them beat the Bucs this weekend because everybody's mad in this part of the cycle. And I believe we are headed to this 8-8. And this is when we will get a week 18 true Panthers meltdown potential. True Panthers meltdown potential. Let's go back to the sports phone.
Yeah, when did the law of the wolf start applying to the Panthers? Golly.
We had this earlier in the year on the Twitters, and people were like, no, keep your bullshit away from me. You don't know anything, Giglio. Okay. Expect the most, you get the least, man. I mean, come on.
Curtis called it.
Hello, G. Courtesy driver, 7:38 p.m. Dave Canales. The game was tied 17-17. Why are you continuing to throw the ball? How about you mix in some run plays? How about that? Why are you letting Kellen Moore own your ass and coach? Why is that? Now they're fucking 4-10 thanks to your fucking knot-headed nonsense. Whatever. Panthers are tied up with Tampa Bay now for the lead in the division. As bad as Tampa Bay's looked lately, injuries, and of course Baker's been roughed up with his left shoulder, non-throwing shoulder here recently. And it is in Charlotte. So keep our fingers crossed. Thank you as always. Looking forward to next week's shows. Good night.
Yeah, all the extra shows that Joe's making me do, too. Ridiculous. Let's go to a 919.
Bossy! Then fuck the Panthers. But Bossy!
It's funny. I was a back-to-back shootout wins for the Carolina Panthers, right?
Hurricanes. Yeah, they have 3 in
or
a
for
row.
the Hurricanes. And what I love about all this is that they're sitting atop the Eastern Conference right now, and you'd never know it based on the discourse online. You would never know it, and they've won these 2 shootouts. But if you ask the internet, Rod has the worst shootout lineup ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of funny how these things play out. It's kind of funny. Let's see. Let's go to 252.
Diesel Tar Heel here. Another disappointing week from the Carolina Panthers. I guess we only get one good week at a time. I should have known better. Had 2 weeks to prepare just to get shucked up by the fucking New Orleans Saints.
Shucked up.
Evro, I don't know what that last defensive drive was. I think we just let them get a 20-yard cushion. We're going to see how fast we can let them score. I'm not really sure what's going on right there. We got the worst pass rush in the league, but we're trying to send everybody, which doesn't get there, and just leave all the wide receivers wide open. And Dave Canales just sits back and lets it happen. Dave Canales likes to sit in his little chair and let the team go to shit over 2 weeks, come completely unprepared, over 100-yard in penalties. But, that's just what Dave Canales does. Nobody enjoys watching the Panthers playoff hopes get fucked over by the New Orleans Saints more than Dave Canales. I shouldn't have expected anything different. Keep pounding. That's what Dave says in his chair while he's watching our playoff hopes go down the drain.
We put that on a shirt. No, we can't put that on a shirt.
Curse or don't, man.
Dave Canales. We can't close on one more. Let's go to a 919.
Hi, gentlemen. I'm calling after the Panthers game, and I just saw the end of the Hurricanes game, and I'm glad I waited till after watching the Canes actually blow a lead, but still win. Because I can trust them to do that, but I can't trust the Panthers to do that. Because if I had called after that Panthers game, I would have been going ballistic. Because it seems that Dave Canales and these Panthers cannot fucking learn what they're doing in playing games like these. Against 1 week, you go and play the best team and you go and win. But the next week, you go play one of the worst teams and you lose. I don't know what Dave Canales thinks, that you are not playing in college football where Georgia is never going to lose to an FCS team. You are in the NFL. Every single week you can lose. The team across from you has 64, whatever it is, 51, 52 players, some of the best people to ever play the sport of football. So I don't know. It looks like a complete coaching fuck up on the side of the ball. 10 penalties for over 100 goddamn yards. You just give to them. And they're just sloppy too. It's one thing if you get a stupid holding call, but these are lazy, late hit things that are on the coaches. All right, it is the players that executed them, but the coaches have got to be all over that sort of thing. And then when it comes to the play calling and how conservative are, you went up 17-7 or something like that, and you took all the gas off. All right, you were done. You tried to run the ball 3 times in a row. That's exactly what the Saints knew you were going to do. And what happened? You blew the fucking lead again because you are predictable and you are sorry. I am over Dave Canales because he cannot learn. He has not shown the ability to learn in this league. He reaches the highs, but does not take away anything from the lows. You should not lose to the New Orleans Saints twice. They had 2 wins before you played them twice. You are a sorry football team, and you've upset me. You made me buy back into the Panthers. What a sorry person I am for that.
They brought me back in. I'll say this about the Ransom late hit. I get that he's a rookie. Man, it's late in the season for that. You gotta know better than that. That was a backbreaker, absolute backbreaker. What other NFL note before we move on? The Chiefs are done.
Don't ever lose in the Super Bowl.
It's not that simple.
Are you sure?
It's not that simple. It is not that simple.
Are you sure?
I'll say this about the Chiefs being done. I get that people like watching dynasties crumble. That's part of the shtick with sports. But you don't want to see it like that with Patrick Mahomes. And this completely disrupts what we'll think about the Chiefs next year too. Because we'll see how long it takes him to come back from that injury. Number one, probably got to think with him being out, Andy Reid's probably calling it a career after this. Don't you think?
I don't know.
And then Travis Kelce's done after this too. He's off to go be Mr. Swift from here on out.
He's definitely
he's done. And the defense is not what it once was, and it's not luck. You had a shtick. You had a great defense. That's how you got through in these 1-score games, especially last year. Then you ended up getting the Super Bowl that way. But that stuff catches up to you eventually. But the Mahomes injury kind of shifts how I view the Chiefs not making the playoffs. So there's that. And it also, with the Chiefs being done, Bengals are what they are. Joe Burrow's all sad. The Ravens are whatever the hell they are. Josh Allen, my dude, it is time. I know I haven't really had a chance to listen to a lot of national stuff today, but I got to imagine that the door is wide open for the Bills to finally make it happen. And I know their defense is like the big question mark for the rest of the season, the postseason. And that was an impressive comeback on the hot things that are the New England Patriots. I get all that. But dude, it's there for you in Buffalo, man. Can they do it though? And nobody's going to remember that all these guys were knocked out. Not the point. You got to go out and do it. So we'll see. Wegmans will be really depressing in February if they don't. Just saying. You're going to say something about the Chiefs?
No, you got to let me break off my Super Bowl stat now that we're here.
Yeah.
2007, Tom Brady, unbeaten Patriots, losing the Super Bowl. Next year at Arrowhead Stadium, tears his ACL in the first game of the year. Don't hear Patriots miss the playoffs. 2023, 49ers losing overtime to the Chiefs. Christian McCaffrey pops his Achilles, plays 4 games. That's it.
Yeah.
They missed the playoffs. Kansas City.
Yeah.
Losing the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes tears his ACL. Don't lose in the Super Bowl. It's the most powerful force in the universe.
Pro tip.
Don't do it.
And if you're the Eagles, don't win the Super Bowl.
Hey, man, they got 2 of them. They should just be smiling.
Big thanks to our friends at Miller Lending, Gordon Miller and the crew. Give them a call, 919-447-3377, millerlending.com. Do you enjoy youth travel sports and you're broke? Hey, refinance. Use the equity in your home.
It's a thing.
to pay for little Billy's hoop dreams.
Just for a friend, for example, not because of me.
Not because it's not. That's not why I would do it in 2026. No, look, there's all sorts of reasons why you might need to refinance. You might have found yourself earlier, a couple of years ago, getting into a situation where you've got a high mortgage percentage. What you can do is contact our friends at Miller Lending, see what the rate is, see if it makes sense for you, and they're not going to push you towards anything that doesn't make any sense for you. That's the key part. And go from there. And the best part about it is you don't pay closing costs. You're not buying down a rate. You're not getting duped by 30-year fixed APR for 4.99% or whatever it is. And when you call, as we talked to Gordon, 2 weeks ago, you find out it's not that simple. There's no games, there's no gimmicks, there's no costs at Miller Lending. So check them out online at millerlending.com or call them directly at 919-447-3377. Big thanks to our friends at Whitaker and Hamer. They could do something simple for you, like closing on a refinance or any other small business legal needs or personal legal needs. You can check them out online at wh.lawyer. Again, that's wh.lawyer. Also, big thanks to our friends at Hometown Realty. You can check them out online at myhtr.com. You might have holidays end and you're looking at yourself going, man, this house can just not host people anymore. Or your family's growing, they're getting bigger, they're adding more stuff. It's time to find a new house. Or you're looking at how the market's shaking out and you're seeing homes go for X amount. You're thinking, well, what does that mean for me? Hey, just have a conversation with our friends at Hometown Realty. Check them out online at myhtr.com. Again, that's myhtr.com. And of course, our friends at Happy and Hail. By all means, download the app today. And you know what? Cleanse yourself.
Let's take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hill.
So, another hockey trip means a lot more brown food. You know what that means? I need green food in my life. Too much Nashville hot chicken. I don't need Nashville greens at this point. So I need something to counteract that. So guess who's going to Happy and Hail today? That would be me. So check them out. Download the app. Use that promo code OG25. You'll save 25% off your order. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline is former columnist of the News and Observer, always a colleague, always a friend, though. He is Luke DeCock. It comes for us all, Luke. Came for us, comes for you. Here we are. You say farewell. But I feel like this is the spot where we get to say farewell because we're in a funny business where you actually don't get to write a column saying bye. You just get a post out there. But no, sir, we get to do it here on this podcast. Welcome.
I'd rather do it with you guys as the ubiquitous friend of the program anyway. I did try to send a farewell email to my email list, like these people who cared enough to like subscribe to have my columns delivered to them. And, you know, like the Luke's latest email list, like these are people who took the time to subscribe to a newsletter that literally existed to send them a link to my column, which the genesis of that was no one could find them on the website. So let's deliver them directly. And they wouldn't let me do that. So I really did not get a chance to even say farewell to the people who cared. And they're all subscribers. So presumably cared enough to pay for it. But yeah, no, it's unlike you guys, at least, this was more my choice. The timing wasn't, but the decision was. We had made the decision to move to Chicago, and Steve Wiseman and I had worked out this remote commuting deal where I came back for the Duke, Carolina and Florida State football games and was covering Duke on the road to help out because that's a tough beat for us to cover right now, especially with games in New York and Chicago and West Point and all that. Felt like it was going pretty well. We were, we talked about maybe end of December, end of the quarter, end of first quarter, end of March, get through the NCAA tournament. But, powers that be decided unilaterally that Friday was my last day. So Friday was my last day. And that's how it works in this business. Doesn't matter how long you've been there, as you guys know. It doesn't matter the work you did or the money you made for them or any of that. When they decide you're done, you're done. And that's the way it works. And there was a part of me that has a bit of that Tony Soprano scene from the pilot. Like I knew I didn't get in at the beginning. Like my grandfather did this in the glory days in Milwaukee. Like I knew, like, and Joe knew it too when he started at the NNO. Like we were not getting in at the glory days of the NNO. We know because we worked with people who did, and they wouldn't shut up about it. And I'm sure that's how the younger writers feel about us now. But it does feel like you were at the end of it. But another one of my favorite memes, the thing about the old days, they the old days. And I'm proud of the fact that I stuck it out through all these rounds of transition when other people wouldn't or couldn't. And I'm proud of the work. Like I look back over 25 years, I look back over the last 2 months, even what I did remotely, I'm pretty proud of the stuff that I did. And as I said in the note, like, we all only have so many words in us. I've used up most of them. I was pretty burned out by the end. Like there's a reason we moved. It was because I was, ready to move on from this job and hopefully find something else first. But it was time. Like it was time. You can only do the same thing for so long and feel like you're just, shouting into a void for so long before it starts to wear on you. And then, the NNO is not the place it was 10, 15 years ago. That's true of most newspapers, but I think there's a little less trust in that institution now than there used to be. And I'm rooting like hell. Like there's great people there still. Like Chipper outlasted me, and Shelby Swanson's going to be a star, and, Virginia Bridges and Dan Kane and David Rayner. Like there's great journalists there who are plugging away under very adverse circumstances. And I hope they can pull it through, because the NNO, like, I said this in my farewell note to the newsroom, like I was always proud to work at the NNO. Like I was always proud of what we did and proud of what we represented and how that culture had stayed intact through so much sort of corporate BS and the market changing and all those things. And we were out there fighting and trying to break news and do things the right way and, on the ACC or politics, whatever. And I was always proud of that. So, but my time there was done. It was time to move on, and I'm fine with that.
Joe Ovies likes to point out that John Shire has done a little bit of the impossible, which is following a legend and the best in his business, and done it. I always point out that he's done it in his own way, and it's funny. I've seen that before though, and that was with you and the way that you were able to follow our mentor Colton Tudor, the way that you were. Because think about it, Tudor was North Carolina, from Anger, even with the funky name.
The overtime game, like he was part of history.
It goes from every Final Four from 72 to 06 or whatever it was.
Dean Smith is bumming cigarettes off him, man.
Every ACC tournament.
So was Gino Ojic.
A true and a true character, a true, unbelievable deadline writer. All of the things that Tudor was. It was a really tough position that you stepped into at the News and Observer, and you handled it in a way that was very skillful. And I think the people of this market appreciated because other than our homage during the tournament, you never tried to be them, right? And B, you had your own style. You always had your own style. And I think Elliot Avent gave you the best compliment possible. Like, I'm never going to do anything to piss that guy off because I don't know why. I don't know why he's so mad, but let me just tell you, I'm not doing anything to piss Luke DeCock off. So those are the two best compliments you could possibly have. Let's go into the Wayback Machine though, because there are some people who did not like you, and I would like for you to rank them, please, because I still don't know the answer to this question. We're talking a lot about 06 with the 20th anniversary, the Carolina Hurricanes, and I think it's easy to forget like who the actual owner was of the Carolina Hurricanes in 2006. It wasn't Tom Dundon, okay, and I think we've kind of forgotten about Pete Karmanos and some of the glory that was Pete Karmanos, not his own son suing him, not him, failing into bankruptcy with however many wives that he had and all the other financial problems that he ended his glorious run with. But when he was riding his highest, Luke, you wrote one of the all-time great bars about Pete Karmanos, and it was about the Hurricanes logo being a flushing toilet. And I'm fairly certain Pete Carmanos didn't talk to you for an extended period of time after the flushing logo line. Am I right? Am I remembering this correctly?
Yeah, that was. I think that was coming out of the 02-03 season. When they finished, they went from the being 3 wins away from the Stanley Cup to finishing dead last, and kind of how everything had turned. That they'd gone from sort of this simulacrum of the Red Wings logo, where it was a sort of wheel without wings, to a flushing toilet in the space of 9 months, whatever it was. That's not even the worst me and Pete moment. Not many people know this, but there was a press conference at it was PN. I think it was still RBC then. It was one of the late. Remember that you guys always remember the campaign for the All-Star game, that ticket campaign to bring the All-Star game, which ended up becoming 10 years later. But part of that was they were given the draft in 04, which was cool. Like they were bringing a major NHL event to Raleigh. But that was announced in maybe the summer of 03 or something. And there was a lot of sort of issues with me and Pete then, me asking him questions about his finance. Because you got to remember, this was a guy who built his fortune in mainframe computer software. And basically after the Y2K thing, when they rewrote all that software, there was no market left. There was no money coming in. And then there was still maintenance contracts, but it was no longer a growth industry. And Pete was eventually going to run out of money, which he did. So we were pushing a lot. But Bettman was there. And Frank Brown was Bettman's PR/body man at the time. And Pete and I got in a screaming match after the press conference, where one of the things I said to him is, why something to the effect of, why do you keep fighting with me on this stuff? I'm the only one in this market who gives a shit about your team, which was absolutely true at the time.
Yeah.
In terms of day-to-day stuff. And he and I actually were pretty much chest to chest. And I could see out of the corner of my eye, Frank Brown dragging Bettman out of the room by his elbow, literally like a cartoon.
We don't need to be here for this.
Because Frank, and I can't remember if Frank told me later or I asked him later and he laughed or something, but he basically was like, Bettman can't be here if these guys come to blows. He can't be answered. He has to be able to say that was after I left the room. Now I will say, and part of it was Pete was very headstrong. Pete had an extremely high opinion of his own abilities as an owner, of which there was no evidence whatsoever. And especially in the years when he was basically running the franchise on, he was basically standing out in front of PNC with a cup in his hand, begging for nickels. Because they had the lowest payroll in the league. They couldn't spend any money.
Tax write-off.
Tax write-off. Well, the problem is he had no more income to write off. So the whole thing of it being a tax write-off, if you don't have income to write off, it's just a loss. Tom Dundon can lose as much money as he wants in the Hurricanes because he's making billions. Pete Carmanos was, had lives to pay and bills to pay and no money coming in. And then he got fired by CompuWare and then sued CompuWare. The whole thing was a mess. But so after the Dundon sale goes down. So this is January of 18. My memory, the numbers were right. January. So the sale goes down and Pete's there and Bettman's there and Dundon's there. And the press conference ends and I go outside to smoke a cigar because it's over. I no longer have to deal with Pete. All these years of him, his bluster and his BS and him yelling at me. I think he once actually told me that I wasn't as smart as I thought I was because I wasn't as rich as he was, or something awful like that. And I'm out there sitting in front of the VIP entrance to PNC smoking the cigar, very clearly in a celebratory mood. And Pete walks out and he's got a cigar. It's already lit. So now there's no going back, right? We are out there for the length of these cigars. And it was the cigar, actually, Joe, that Keely had brought us from Havana when she went to Cuba. I've been saving it for a special occasion. Anyway, I ended up having a remarkable conversation with Pete. It was almost like with the team gone and the pressure off, and he got it into good hands, and it wasn't going to move, and they were going to invest in the arena and all the things that Dundon had promised them, which I think for the most part, in the big picture, in the broad strokes, he's held up. He's put money into the team, the arena, obviously the development hasn't moved, all that. Anyway, it was almost like Pete was a different guy. And we sat out there, we talked about dogs and families and stuff that had happened years earlier and the Illiches and laughing about, and it was almost like he was a completely different person. And maybe he felt the same way about me because I was no longer an adversary. And it was just someone who had, 15, 18 years of shared history that very few people other than the two of us would understand. So I ended up having a really weird moment of closure there, which you don't often get in this business. I remember Peter Laviolette came back after he got fired, whatever that was, fall of 2009, whenever he was with the Flyers. He came back with Flyers, and I went to the morning skate and went through his press conference and wrapped up. And I went over to him. We're standing in the VOM by the visitors entrance there, and I said, "Hey, Pete, man, I'm sorry about the way," because things did not end well with me and him. I mean, all the scrutiny about his job and Pete was kind of jerking him around, and Jimmy was kind of jerking him around, and he had stopped calling me back, and we had like Joe trying to get him to respond to stuff, and it gotten pretty grim. And he grabbed me by the arm affectionately. He goes, "Luke, it never ends well." And I was thinking, this is a guy who's been fired a lot and gets it. And our relationship has been fine ever since. And I always think about that all the time. Like, you know what? Things tend not to end well. So I've always enjoyed the fact that I had this sort of weird moment, cigar smoking moment with Pete outside the arena at like 5:30 on a game day, the day he sold the team, because it was sort of like Jimmy and I fought like cats and dogs at times, but we always sort of were able to get back together. And part of that was just because we both were pulling so hard on the same rope.
It's interesting, the adversarial relationship. And I think from the outside, and I'm glad you brought this up in the way that you framed it in your back and forth with Carmanos. You're one of the only ones who actually gives a shit about what happens with this organization. And I think it's a misconception that people have with our side of the business, or any sort of adversarial or critical approach that we have to the local teams. There's this attitude that you're supposed to be a cheerleader. Being a cheerleader has its time and a place. Don't get me wrong. But the reason why there's criticism, there's a reason why there might be adversarial approaches, is because we give a shit. And I think sometimes organizations, the coaches, the people in the front office, the alternative to this is us not caring. And that's not good for anybody.
Or nobody showing up, which is kind of what's happening in a lot of these places.
But that is a separate conversation. To get back to how we started with this, and I agree with you. You and I have had this conversation a lot, in that we knew we got into this business when the salad days were over. Okay. Like, especially on the radio side, I've had program directors tell me all the money that was flowing through radio and all the bits they used to be able to do and all this other kind of stuff. And I'm sitting here going like, and we're sitting here struggling with giving away like a gift basket to people. Like, what are we talking about? Right. But even still, you look back on the 25 years we've all been doing this, all things considered, to our colleagues coming up, at least there was a path to continue doing stuff. Right. I started as a part-timer board op, and eventually found myself doing afternoon radio, in this market. You started where you started, and you worked your way up to being a columnist, replacing Colton Tudor. Now I look at people coming in, and I think to myself, and you and I both know, we all know people who are young and very, very talented. You brought up Shelby Swanson. I always bring up Brendan Marks, and it's like, there's no path in this business now for how these things are going. And I think that fans, whether they realize it or not, this isn't a good thing for the sports that we love. And I have not really found a good way to articulate why it's not a good thing. I just know it's not a good thing.
Yeah, the stories aren't going to get told. Some of the best stories are stories that people don't want told and then are glad when they are told. If you're just sort of writing about recruiting and who's playing really well, you're probably not going to dig deeply enough into some of this stuff to get to that. Like, one of the roles that a beat writer can serve that people don't understand. Let's say you're a team's PR guy or SID, and you need something out there, but you can't put it in a press release. Like, you need to have a relationship with the beat writer where you can kind of be like, hey man, you ought to look into this, because sometimes the team wants things out there. And this isn't necessarily like whisper campaigns about a player. It can be something about the relationship with the arena board. It could be issues with an agent. It could be issues with the league. If the Hurricanes are pissed off about something, some some franchises might do this. They're probably not going to put out a press release saying we keep getting jobbed by the NHL. But a beat writer, like I think I did this, maybe it was right at the end of my time. Eric Stahl got run into the boards by Aaron Voros of the Wild, right in front of the Carolina bench. It should have been like a 2-game suspension. And he didn't get suspended, but like a week earlier, like Craig Adams had gotten suspended for like accidentally high sticking a Maple Leafs player. So I ran all the numbers and I found out that if you played for a Southeast Division team, you were much less likely to get suspended for something done to you. And if you did it to a player on a Canadian team, you were much more likely to get, because the NHL's discipline apparatus at that point wasn't 20 guys in a room in Toronto. It was Colin Campbell at home in his armchair in a tobacco farm in Ontario deciding who got suspended.
Mm-hmm.
And we wrote this, and the Hurricanes were like, thank you. We've been trying to do this for years. Because other teams in the Southeast Division too work. There was one exception, which was the Florida Panthers, where Campbell's son was playing. The numbers were different there. So, there are things like that if you're just, sort of going to press conferences and writing what the coach says, you're never going to get into that kind of stuff. And, there are a million other examples. I'm sure I could come up with better ones. But, it's just the amount of coverage and the more people looking into things, the more people writing things is always better. It just is. And we're losing some of that, when you're stretched so thin, when you're not on the road. I mean, a big part of discovering good things to write about, the stories that really need to be told is being on the road and seeing these guys and sort of, or women in the case of women's basketball or the NWSL or whatever, seeing these players in sort of less guarded situations. Like you can like on the road after a practice in Colorado, when they've got 8 hours of sitting in the hotel before they go to dinner ahead of them, they're going to really want to sit down and talk to you about their parents or where they can, like guys are really and when you get to know them, like I remember being in a Starbucks in the Union Station development in St. Louis, because we all stayed at the Hyatt there. And I went down there and there's like Kevin Adams and somebody at a table and they're like, come on over and join us, because we're all just killing the same time. We've all got 4 hours to kill before we go to the arena. So you build bonds and get to know people in a way that doesn't happen as much anymore. I think Giglio's heard this story, but one of my first or second or third year on the beat, covering the Hurricanes, so it's like 02, 03, somewhere in there. Jeff Daniels is one of the all-time great dudes who's played for the Hurricanes. It was like a morning skate or something that walked by his locker, and he said something like, man, traffic must be terrible by your place. And I was like, yeah, it is. And I was like, wait, what the? How do you know that? And he had seen a story in the NNO that the Wade Avenue Bridge over Glenwood was under construction. He knew that I lived over there. He remembered that. He brought it up. Like, that's like normal human conversation. And if you can get to that point with the people you cover, and it's almost impossible now.
Yeah.
If you can get to that point with the people you cover, you can start telling real stories, because you can build trust, you can build relationships. And even when you're writing things that may be uncomplimentary, as long as they're true and as long as you try to show up and show your face, people tend to understand, like professional athletes especially. When they screw up, they expect to hear about it. And nowadays I see it, especially in the playoffs when I'm around the team more. Guys will screw up and be in the locker room, although you don't really get the open locker room anymore. They kind of drag guys out. But they're a little surprised when they're not held accountable for a huge mistake or something. Like, they expect to be called. Not that this is entirely his fault, but if you're Corey Stillman and you give up the puck in front of your own net in Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals in overtime on the power play with a chance to win the Stanley Cup, you expect to be in front of the media and say, hey, I screwed up and I'm going to do better in Game 6 and we're going to win the Stanley Cup. Like, you want the chance to come out and say that. And a lot of players don't get that chance these days. It's why I'm a big advocate of open locker rooms for college players. I think that's a growth experience, a learning experience. Mike Krzyzewski always understood that. I don't know that John Shire does to the same degree. And we don't get that open Duke locker room on the road anymore, although certainly logistics plays a role there. And NC State's locker room was open the last couple of years under Kevin Keats. It's not now under Will Wade. Now, some of that has to do with construction at the arena. So we'll see what happens when things are back to normal. But thank you, Joe. I'm just trying to be the nicest version of myself.
For those listening on podcast, you're missing Joe's face going, nah.
My eyebrow went off the top of the screen.
That's a Mark Gottfried. I don't know about that.
I don't know about all that. But my point is, like, I think that NC State having their room open that much meant when in 2024, when they went on their run, both in Washington and then in Pittsburgh and then in Dallas and in Phoenix, they were comfortable with that. And I'm convinced that one of the reasons why Duke and Syracuse and Michigan State and schools like that have always outperformed their seeds in March. Duke less so, but Duke has obviously a tremendous record of March success. And to a lesser extent, Carolina, because their room used to be open on the road, because their players were accustomed to that, and it wasn't a new experience for them. And the more you can acclimatize, especially college athletes who only have a couple of years of this, the more you can acclimatize them to the environment they're going to see in the postseason, the better they're going to fare. I'll never be able to prove that, but I really believe when you look at like Boeheim and Izzo, one of the reasons that their teams always like went to the Final Four as 6 seeds or whatever was because their players found the ACC and Big Ten tournaments and the NCAA tournament to be very routine.
Yeah, no, the thing we learned at the newspaper business, which everyone learns in their own time, right, is once you take something away and the company realizes they're still surviving without it, never comes back. Literally, Dave Doran still does his post-game and Monday press conferences on a Zoom. Like,
well, you know, we got to be careful. We got to look out for COVID's still out there.
Yeah,
it's been a bad.
No, I mean, to your point, Joe,
it's been a bad flu season. Okay.
it's been a bad flu season.
Once something goes away, it doesn't come back.
But that's true.
The direction of all this stuff, especially on the college side.
Yeah,
and you see it with Duke releasing all of their own stuff now and doing all that. That's how they're going to do it now.
And that, you know, the problem that people don't see is the people who lose on that. It's not necessarily me. It's not necessarily you guys. It's the fans.
Yeah.
Because, you know, some of the best stories come from the guy who you only need to ask one question, who played 10 minutes. But, you know, you go and ask him and he says, well, you know, so-and-so told me blah, blah, blah. And that becomes the story. Whatever. It's like sometimes putting the star at a podium it never gives you the same results as getting to ask a guy your own question in the corner of the locker room, because he may tell you something about another player. He may tell you something about himself. He may tell you his uncle just died, whatever. Just you need to be able to have those conversations. And on the point of like losing stuff and not getting it back, I mean, Joe, just look at the NNO sports staff since you left.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I will go back, and Steve Wiseman had this conversation on my last day. 2022 was one of the most difficult years to cover in the history of triangle sports. You had Mike Krzyzewski's last season at Duke.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole season was like a Final Four. I mean, we were pumping out these epic Mike Krzyzewski stories, who Duke would have hired if they hadn't hired Krzyzewski, which everyone else got wrong, and I'll pat myself on the back. That's the one story I ever beat Feinstein on. God, you know, rest his soul.
R.I.P. Feinstein.
And God, man, I was up at Army with Duke in November, and I'm thinking, Jesus, I wish John were here. Like, this game was built for John. He loved Army, loved Navy, loved Army, loved Duke. Like Kay going back to Army. I mean, that was, I felt like I had this incredible burden to carry the Feinstein torch. And I guess that probably would have meant complaining about everything. But because John was, but I love John, and I'm so glad that I got to know him, you know, later in his life, because he was very good to me, and man, I learned a lot. But like stuff like that, we spent that whole year writing about Kay. We get to the ACC tournament, everybody's burned out. We got to the last home game. We got Jay Williams trying to call timeout. We got the debacle, Hubert ruining Kay's farewell. And it's like, you can finally exhale. And what happens? We get the nightmare Final Four, the Armageddon Final Four. And I'm flying from, and this was great. Like, I'm taking the red eye from San Francisco after Duke beats Arkansas to Philly for UNC St. Peter's. Then I'm taking the train to Bridgeport for the State UConn women's debacle. And then, like, I get home, do laundry, and, like, I'm on a plane to New Orleans that night because I'm about to be president of the USBWA, and I got all this stuff I got to do. And it was awesome. That was as close as we'll get to the old days. And then you look at our team, and I'll put what we did at the NNO on K and on that Final Four up against what anyone did anywhere. Because we had an incredible team. Like, we had Andrew Carter, we had C.L. Brown on Carolina, we had Steve Wiseman on Duke. Natalie Pierre was our sports editor. You know, Jonas was on State up there with me with the women in Connecticut. And it was like, we had the people to do it right. And they gave us the resources. Natalie fought for the resources to do it right. So what happens after that? CL leaves. He's not replaced until this summer. Natalie leaves. They promote Steve to replace her. Don't replace him. You know, Jonas leaves. You know, Andrew leaves, is not replaced. I'm leaving. I'm not going to be replaced. Like, in my exit call with HR, they were like, you know, what would you say, you know, the thing you would change about the sports staff? I said, they need help. They need bodies.
Yeah.
Like, we have an incredible sports market. I said this in my note, like, there's no better place in the world to be a sports columnist than the Triangle. Like, people care. Like, they care very deeply, whether they love you or hate you. It's one of the last places in the world that has this kind of passion and these kind of rivalries that are still extant, plus a pro team that's a consistent championship contender that has its own deeply flawed fan base in its own way. And all of that, and like I said, like people still read, they still care. But you got to give them something. And my fear for the NNO, especially in terms of sports, is you start giving them so little, people just tune out. And I think we've seen that happen with local TV in the Triangle. I mean, that breaks my heart to see what's happened with that. But the TV people I've worked with over the years have been awesome. And I've always had a lot of respect for the local sports people in the Triangle. But man, there's so few of them left, and there's good ones left to be sure, but the numbers aren't the same.
Yeah.
And now I think we're going to see that with the NNL. Like RAL in 2018, and maybe they have since, didn't even go on the road for the NCAA tournament. Like they just decided it wasn't worth it. And I don't want, the NNO decided that with the Hurricanes in the playoffs last year.
Yeah. That's why I laughed when Joe was talking about the newspaper business. I mean, that's every business. Once something goes away and they survive, like, oh, we can get away with this. All right. Then it's never coming back because it helps the line go up, and it's not spending money. And the worst thing you can do is spend money. And of course, that's why I always kind of laugh when people get all worked up about certain things. And they talk about the media and how the Triangle media, I usually want to say, like, y'all, we're a couple weeks away from 2026. Look around. This is not 2000. Look around.
There is no
who is this media that you're referring to? Ain't a lot of us left, y'all. Like, come on now.
It's us. There's only 2/3 of us left.
Right. So it's like, who are you mad at? I mean, you're still mad at us. Cool, I get that, but don't say the media because ain't nobody around, right?
You can use it. You can use our names now.
Right. Just say us, or just say a podcast. Either way, the point is the point that I'm getting at is that I worry about, and I've always worried about, institutional knowledge, right? One thing that I've always said, and one of the goals of this podcast with me and Giglio is, yes, we do spend a lot of time talking about how things used to be, but not in a way that makes you go, those were the good old days. It was, let's help you understand why people are reacting the way they're reacting today, because it's built on layers and layers of context over the last 25 to 50 years. And who's going to be around in the next 10 years to explain why Canes fans are wrapped tight the way that they are right now? Well, we can explain that now. Who's going to be doing that in 10 years? We don't know. Who's going to, like, those are the kind of things that I kind of find interesting. But to wrap this conversation, the thing that I'm curious about, we did this brief history of Triangle Good over the summertime. And I think, not giving too much away here, but, I'm assuming the three of us will probably get together this summer and talk about 20 years of the Canes and 25 years since 2002, since we all have that opinion that 2002 seems to be memory hold. But what's the thing that, my favorite question, Luke DeCock gets into the DeLorean and he goes back to the year 2000. And I know the first thing you say is, man, that headshot with the glasses. I don't know about that. You might want to rethink that headshot, Luke. But you go, hey, man, you're not going to believe what happens in the next 25 years. And what would that be? Well, of that, what would that be?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple things. One, I never would have thought I would have stayed this long. Yeah. And I did because I love the job. And for a long time, I loved the paper. And I always loved living here. And so that would have been the biggest shock to my system. I mean, part of that is me choosing to stay. Part of that is the business changing. I mean, my first job was 18 months. My second job was 2.5 years. It would have made sense for me to stay 5 years here and move on. And that kind of was the timeline in some ways, or jobs I didn't get, law school I didn't go to in that sort of window. But the business changed. There weren't as many jobs. I mean, that was right when things started to clamp down. And then you get in that 07, 08 period and newspapers kind of, the Craigslist era, newspapers kind of die entirely. So that would be one big surprise. I would be shocked to the core that the Hurricanes are still here, because that felt like such a losing proposition. You got to remember, the fourth or fifth game I covered was Halloween. Tampa was in town. Halloween 2000.
Yep.
The official attendance was something like 5,600.
Right.
It was a full-on authentic, not I was in Greensboro. It was a full-on authentic Greensboro crowd of about 1,100, 1,200 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember looking out and going, I probably am going to need to find a new job because this team is not going to be here in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And if things had continued like that, they probably would have. 02, as you just hinted at, was a complete sea change. It changed everything. I am of the opinion, and I know you guys have similar opinions. I don't want to speak for you. 02 is far more important to the history of this franchise than 06. And because without 02, it wouldn't be here. There wouldn't have been an 06. Rob Brindamore would have left. Attendance would have continued to plummet. It really goes back to the goal in Game 4 against the Devils, the overtime goal. If you really want to dig down into it, that gets Brindamore to stay. Brindamore stays. 02 happens. I remember when Brindamore actually agreed to terms on the contract. It was during rookie camp. I was in Kitchener. And I'd driven into Toronto to go to the Blue Jays game that night because there's only so much you can do in Kitchener. And I broke the news, filed that story from a Kinko's in Etobicoke, which is what you had to kind of do back then in the pre-tethering to your phone era. Pulled off the road.
Hey, for the listeners in their 20s, a Kinko's.
It's now a FedEx office. Sorry. Yes, thank you. But no, I would be shocked by that. I would be shocked that the Hurricanes eventually won the Stanley Cup because it was just not a franchise at the time that felt like it could ever compete financially. So all of those things. And I would be shocked that I would end up as someone who became so deeply enmeshed in the world of college basketball. I'd always loved college basketball back to when I was a kid, but I had never really covered it other than a brief time with the Colorado State women's team when Becky Hammond was there, when they were just an absolute wagon. And we decided to start covering them from Colorado Springs. And that was a team that was capable of going to a Final Four. But other than that, I hadn't had a lot of exposure to it. But obviously, when you work here, you get exposed to it. And I remember when I got promoted to columnist, Toot grabbing me and saying, we got to get you signed up for the FWAA and the USBWA. And obviously, over the years, I got more and more involved in the USBWA and pretty proud of what we accomplished during my term as president. But, covering all those Final Fours, the Carrier Classic, still one of the real 2 highlights of my career. Not necessarily for the game or being on the aircraft carrier, but the way that the Navy people who were like living on the ship at the time sort of embraced us. Like I thought it was gonna be a little awkward, like here we are, and they're like trying to go about their day to day while they're in port, and they were just so excited to have us there. It was really cool. Obviously, covering a game at sunset in San Diego on an aircraft carrier is going to be on your list anyway. So that all would surprise me. Just the way that not only that I ended up putting down roots, but roots in the basketball community. Like that's something to me that I really enjoyed getting that deep into college basketball. Which look, we all are in the Triangle. That's our DNA. Yeah. But I don't know that in 2000 when I came here to cover hockey, I ever would have expected that. And I love it. Like I love the Final Fours and the NCAA tournament, ACC tournaments, still the best time of the year because there's just so much going on and so many stories to tell. And to your point earlier, Giglio, you get the access. Locker rooms are open during the ACC tournament. Locker rooms are open during the NCAA tournament. And I used to tell ADs and commissioners this when I was on these begging missions for the USBWA. The reason there are better stories told about college basketball in March is not necessarily because more people are paying attention. It's because we get seats where we see and hear things we don't normally see, and we get access we don't normally get to talk to these players and tell stories. And it creates this perfect storm of unbelievable basketball coverage. And that was always a point I was always trying to make. So that I think the how long I stayed, obviously the Hurricanes' enduring success, and to me they're absolutely have put pilings deep into the earth here now, and an essential part of the community. And then sort of the way that I was able to sort of get involved in college basketball, stay involved. Those would be, I think, the 3 things that probably would surprise me most in retrospect. Definitely staying as long as I did. I never would have thought that in October of 2000.
Well, there's still time to be shocked by things that happen in the Triangle, like Brandon Bussey being your next Conn Smythe winner.
Yeah, that's the time ahead of Vezina Trophy caliber goalie.
Yeah, who needs a Vezina cap? We don't need one. When you got Bussey, that Bussey don't quit, Joe. Bussey don't quit.
Man, Bussey got me like.
There is a demand for Bussey shirts, I will say that.
Yeah, I put that on Blue Sky. Like in the old days, like if you go back 5-6 years, wouldn't the Hurricanes have like 9 Bussey shirts out by now? Like the eye would be full of like viral Bussy shirts.
Oh, Breaking Tea. Our friends at Breaking Tea would have like 8 different versions of that. And they'd be selling like hotcakes.
Come
For
on.
sure.
All
Come on.
complacent.
Come on. Yeah. That's the eyes of the prize, man. Eyes of the prize. It's not a meme team anymore. They're here for the Stanley
No,
Cup.
they're for real now.
They're for real now. You put the memes are for kids. Now it's time to get serious about these things. Hey, man, well, congrats on 25 years. I say this all the time to people in this industry. It ain't for soft people. It's a cold business. It is a cold business. So if you last anywhere for an extended period of time, you're clearly doing something right. You obviously did do something right at the N&O. And I also appreciate you getting over the stigma of me being a radio guy eventually. Because I know for a while there's like, what's this fucking asshole? No, this radio guy. Jeez.
I mean, someday.
Joe still has that baggage. Psh.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the kind words, especially Joe about Tudor, and you know that was part of the longer I was at the N&O, the more I understood the sort of Tudor and the Raleigh Times people too. You know, Joe TD, Dick Herbert. I'm going to leave someone off the list. You know, those guys were such, you know, titans of North Carolina sports journalism. You wanted to live up to that. You wanted to try to meet the standard that they had set, and Toot was obviously, sui generis. I mean, he was beyond one of a kind, probably zero of a kind. I mean, there was nothing like him. So appreciate all that. Yeah, it was always something that I tried to live up to and appreciated. And I think, that was true too. Like Joe and I always had an appreciation for kind of the history of the N&O and tried to live up to those standards. And I hope the people who are left can do that. It won't be easy, but they should be up to it. And hey, you mentioned soft people like Phillip Rivers is still in the NFL. Chipper's still at the N&O. It's like a race between Chipper and Phillip here at this point to see who can hang on longer. And I know Chip would love to write a couple more Phillips.
Yeah, we'll bring you back in the playoffs. You're going to be like Phillip Rivers. We'll bring you back in the playoffs. You'll do it remotely. Hopefully you won't gain weight like Phillip. He's clearly been enjoying some retirement. Hey, I was impressed being 44, looking like just a normal dad bro that I might have seen on Broadway this past weekend, right? Like, makes sense to me. He still got it.
Man, if he can get out there and he can do it in whatever shape he wants. He can look like that Kentucky quarterback if he wants.
R.I.P. Jared Lorenzen, man. R.I.P. Luke, hey man, we appreciate it, and we'll be chatting again. I have a feeling we'll be doing some stuff here in the future, but we'll talk to you later, man.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate all your support, and I'm thrilled for your guys' success. Like, there's some voids that need filling in this market, and you guys absolutely spotted one and filled it. And I'm excited to see what comes next for you guys too. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it in person, but I'll certainly be following.
Hey, you have been part of it. I've been putting together our year-end review stuff. Our 3rd episode of the Christmas break we'll have on New Year's, and I'm going over like what was the most viewed, what was the most listened to. How do you reinvent the wheel? Tell you what, man, the After Darks during the Canes playoff run this past year, it does not sizzle without you and Mike hanging out with us and the Gov doing his thing and all that kind of stuff.
Let's give credit where it's due. It's the governor.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
The Caniac in chief.
The Caniac in charge. All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
See you guys. Thank you.
Big thanks to our friends at Bloomin' Blinds. Chris and the crew, Chris and the fam, they want to buy your blinds.
That's awesome.
Think about that. Like, what do I do with these blinds? They know what to do with them. They'll buy them from you. You actually put that towards some new window treatments. So check them out online at bloominblinds.com. That's bloomin, blinds.com, or call them directly at 919-980-9815. Tell them we sent you 10 or more window treatments. You're going to get 10% off. And of course, they brought you all the After Darks, or in some cases, they didn't bring you the In the Dark from the Rialto. Didn't do that.
No, well, we talked about that, how you could make your place look like this.
So again, check them out online at bloominblinds.com. Big thanks to Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. Look, man, it's cold, but it's North Carolina, which means it's going to be in the 60s by Wednesday. ups and downs and your house doing all sorts of funky things. There could be some moisture you don't know about. Moisture barrier would help in the crawl space. So check them out online, bugsbite.com, and start thinking about the spring. How can you keep the mosquitoes at bay? They got all sorts of ways to do it beyond the treatments like misting systems and everything else. So check them out online at bugsbite.com. Again, that's bugsbite.com. Big thanks to our guy, Chris Brassfield at Brassfield Accounting. We are getting dangerously close to the end of the year, which means the documents will be rolling in January. Do you know what to do with all said documents? Chris does. So hit him up, especially if you deal in the world of government grants. That paperwork is crucial to get yourself ready for the tax season. Make sure you have all that stuff ready to go, and Chris Brassfield can make it super easy for you. But it goes beyond this, the paperwork. Fractional CFO, we're also talking some HR stuff as well. So they got a location in Raleigh. It's not just Homer, Alaska by remote. They got a location in the RTP. So check them out online at brassfieldaccounting.com. Again, that's brassfieldaccounting.com. You're running out of time to get some holiday catering done with our friends at Longleaf Swine. Check them out online at longleafswine.com. Or if you just got family coming in town for Christmas, you're trying to get them out of the house, they do have that heated patio now. Put the everything's up. They got the heaters going, and you can enjoy some OG Light at our friends at Longleaf Swine. So again, check them out online at longleafswine.com. All right, let's get out of here with some Hey Joe. I have a question. Oh, I also have this for you. So this is part of the Christmas gift?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I'm not going to say what it is here. Enjoy. Something from Nashville. Jersey's own. So I was in Nashville for a hockey tournament.
I could probably just give her the bag and she'd be very, because that's what she calls Bon Jovi.
JBJ?
JBJ.
Nice.
The dog.
The dog she calls JBJ. Okay. They had like a weird AI John Bon Jovi there that you could take a picture with.
Probably for the best, given his current.
Yeah. He's still a handsome man.
Oh, of course.
Still a handsome man. But yeah, we were up in Nashville for a hockey tournament for Can-Am. Boys came back.
Another medal.
Got another medal back to back for the boys.
I love it.
For the Junior Canes 14
Got a lot of
red
questions
team.
about the official on that medal, but that's fine. It's for another day.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. In fact, there's a poster. They haven't updated the poster since the last time I was at Can-Am tournament. And there's a guy that I swear is Mark Armstrong.
Oh.
It's the can of the Can-Am, the Canadian. He's right there. He's holding up a medal. I'm like, is that not Mark? A younger Mark Armstrong? But no, not the case. I have a question.
Shouts to Mark and his painting company. They recently helped a person who was in a difficult situation with some repairs.
Yes. No, I'd seen.
Saw it on the news of all things.
Yeah. From
the news.
On the news. I guess somebody he used to compete with. Anyway, yeah, I've seen Richard Everett had posted
That's
something
who
on
it was.
Facebook.
Yes.
Yep. Who highlighted what Wow One Day Painting. Free shout out for Mark and the crew. In fact, I got to call Mark about some painting now that I think about it. Not to be like, hey, Mark.
2026 problem.
It's like, hey, Mark, do you want to advertise? Maybe. Is it finally time? Maybe. No, but I actually do need to call him about some stuff in the house. Like for real. For real. That is a 2026 problem. So, a couple things about Nashville. I've never been to Nashville before.
Oh, okay.
And once again, I go to these cities that I've never been to before that I think are like, Raleigh on steroids type thing, or like there's, I don't know. I always think like, it doesn't seem like a big city.
Okay.
Like Nashville doesn't seem like a big city. And then you get there and you're like, oh, okay, I get it now, right? And you just come back from that and you just go, man, Raleigh's made a lot of progress, but shit, we got a long way to go to do all the things we say we want to do here in the Triangle. And Nashville's just another, why would you, if you're the SEC, why would you go anywhere else for a basketball tournament? You literally dump out on the Broadway from that building, right? Why would you go anywhere else? But this gets to my question, because you're the country guy. Oh, and I'm also mad at myself because I missed Scotty. Scotty was at the Grand Ole Opry last night. So I missed Scotty McCreery.
Kind of sort of overlapped.
We kind of sort of did. I texted you and him, and I'd never been to the Grand Ole Opry before. It's on my list. As much as I enjoy, I have my fun at country, but going to a Grand Ole Opry show would be on my list of things to do, right? I had to explain it to Jacob. He's like, what's the big deal about the Grand Ole Opry? And I'm like, well, for a particular genre of music, country, Americana, et cetera, like this is the pinnacle. This is a big you've made it moment. It's like selling out the Garden in New York. That's a big you've made it moment. So that was pretty cool. That or like the Ryman at this point. So regardless, so I knocked on the door asking if he was there. He's not here yet. I was like, oh, okay, got it. And I missed our guy BJ from American Aquarium, BJ Barham, because I went to Hattie B's to get some hot chicken.
The original source?
I paced myself. I did not go for like the extreme because I did have to get on a plane later. So I just went with the hot. Okay. And I mean, like, man, it lived up to the hype. So BJ messages me. He's like, yeah, I made the same mistake. I must have just missed you. I was like, yeah, I guess, yeah. So comings and goings and whatnot. Anyway, here is my question. Sorry, I digress. Because you're Mr. Country. Are you contractually obligated to have a bar in Nashville if you're any country artist of note?
I believe once you crack the Apple Top 100, yes, you are then obligated to lend your name to an establishment.
Okay. So like Eric Church has a spot called Chiefs. Luke Combs has a spot called Category 10. I went to, I had Dunch, Linner, however you want to say it, at Garth Brooks' spot. Now I have thoughts on the prices. You know, for a genre that's about the blue collar working man, those are not blue collar working man prices that you're paying for the alcohol.
Shouts to the person who gave us a phone call for the mailbag comparing Garth Brooks to Bill Belichick.
Interesting. Well, his
good.
Chris Gaines era?
Yeah.
I didn't ask about the Chris Gaines era when we went to Garth Brooks' spot.
That was a good call.
I was kind of bummed out during Dunch. They had a band. The band's there for like 4 hours. And they're very upfront about the fact that, hey, we get paid in tips. And they have the QR codes with the Venmo. Yeah. So if you want to request, it was like $20 for the request. And they were like straight up like, look, we split this $20 4 ways. And if you give us more money, we'll prioritize your request. I'm like, cool. So I'm racking my brain like, well, what country song can I give them? You'd appreciate this. So like, what country song can I give them? So I was like, all right. So I fired up the Venmo, sent $20, and I put in Sturgill Simpson's Life of Sin. Okay. They finally get to the request. The singer goes, hey, where's Joe? I was like, hi, it's me in the corner of the booth having lunch. And she's like, love Sturgill. You got anything else? I'm thinking to myself, well, what's wrong with this song? I'm like, oh, we're talking about sex being overrated and the drugs not working. Like, I was just thinking about the vibe of it, right? Yeah. You know, it's up tempo, you know. And I was like, then the first thing that came to me, like, what's the one about cold beers never letting me down or breaking my heart or something like that? Like, Luke Combs. Yeah. We could do that one. I go, perfect. Do that one. I thought you would appreciate that.
Very nice.
But like, they all have spots. And even like people that I barely even know, like Riley Green. Who's Riley Green? He's got a bar.
Yeah. Had the song of the year last year.
Okay.
With Ella Langley.
I see.
Excuse me.
I see.
You look like you love me.
Post Malone has a bar on Broadway called Posties.
I have questions about that.
Why do you have questions about that?
I mean, I guess if John Bon Jovi has a bar in Nashville, you don't need to be a country star. Singer.
Well, he doesn't know, but Post Malone's he went country. He's got country stuff.
Sure.
So my question is, and I don't know the answer to this. Somebody who's probably more well versed in Nashville stuff would know. And I don't know. Maybe there's a conversation to have with McCreary at some point in time, or BJ. Like, these establishments don't go away. So what? Like Dierks Bentley still has a spot. Now, Dirk's been doing this for a long time. I would imagine Garth Brooks has had a spot for it's Garth freaking Brooks.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some sort of nominal fee that you get for using your name. I doubt.
So is it like a
license? Many of them are.
Is it like a licensing fee
involved? I'm sure some of them are. But
so there's got to be. I don't know nothing about this. So I was just one of these curiosities that I'm like, what happens when these guys fall off? Because not everybody's Garth Brooks.
Sure.
And in a couple of years, it's not like we're going to go like, oh man, Post Malone. You have to explain to the kid, well, who's Post Malone, right?
Yeah.
So what ends up happening? Is it like a licensing fee? Is it like an NIL thing? You just put your name on the building and the management just,
I would think,
like John Bon Jovi, is it his actual bar or is it a licensing agreement? I don't know.
How many times has John Bon Jovi actually been in Nashville?
I don't know.
Have they ever asked him to sing Wookie Christmas or whatever it is?
No, it's R2D2, we wish you a Merry Christmas.
R2D2, we miss you a Merry.
But that was not John Bon Jovi. That was John Bon Jovi, or however you pronounce his actual last name.
Right.
Okay. I will say this about JBJ's. Of all the bars that I went to, that was the only one where they had a band that I was like, fuck yeah. And all they did was 90s grunge covers.
Oh, I was going to say all they did was play Shot Through the Heart and You're to Blame.
Well, that's what I loved about the
You Give Love a
JBJ.
Bad Name.
Every shot had there was the Gina, there was the
Yes.
Tommy, right? There was like all sorts of like little references to all the Bon Jovi
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's something that John has over Bruce Springsteen, I guess.
Yeah.
He's got a spot on Broadway.
Yeah. I'm glad you found it.
And the
It's
other
good.
thing too is that every Uber driver is an up and coming artst as well.
Clearly. Let me
In
play my
fact,
song for you.
Well, there's another. This might be a conversation for OG business in the future. One of the families got into an Uber, and there's like, "Hey, I've written some country songs. Would you like to hear them?" And what are you gonna do? No. So you're like, "Yeah, I'd love to hear it." Well, someplace. AI did it for me. So he wrote the song and he put it into Suno, and it spit out the song. Joe, tell me I don't have any good ideas. Tell me I don't have any good ideas.
You know what the problem is.
I don't have any good ideas.
In 40 years of radio, I've never been in these meetings where there's just no ideas. You guys have no idea.
Did I not use AI to come up with a Tiki Talk track ahead of the outdoor game at Carter Finley Stadium?
No ideas.
No ideas whatsoever.
Don't know basketball either.
Couple of years ahead of the game, man. A couple of years ahead of the game. I think that's bad news for country music because of all the genres.
Yeah.
That's the one that seems like it could be ripe to get taken over by AI. That's kind of where we're at. But very, very cool experience in Nashville. I'd like to go back. I really like to go back and just like be able to go see a bunch of music and things like that, and maybe dump out of Bridgestone Arena and just go to do whatever after that. And of course, shout out to the boys bringing home another medal. Good stuff. All right, we're working tomorrow, but not really working tomorrow.
Okay.
No podcast, but we're recording podcast. We'll see you all on Wednesday.